When I was a little kid, I would have a horrendous time being called on to read. To literally have to stand up and look at that page and read those words out loud in front of all those kids. I literally would start shaking and sweating and not being able to breathe and come close to fainting. I would go home and say, I can't go back again. I can't, not even to face the class, I just couldn't go back. I just didn't want to go. I mean, I couldn't go out without feeling like I would just come unwound. So you want to just get up and scream or run, or you just want to whatever. Well, then I started having a few people to dinner at the house. So I'm sitting there at dinner, and all of a sudden, there that whole thing comes where the silence happens, and I watch the people talk, and I get up. So I just, and you go in your bedroom. You go in your bedroom, and you just collapse on the bed. And that happens over and over and over again with people. I took a vow I had to beat this or befriend it or, you know, educate myself or live with it the rest of my life, but at least the two of us would somewhat be combative at some times and maybe peaceful at others. I don't know. I had no idea who to call. I mean, I didn't perceive this as a medical problem. I thought it was just something that I personally had by myself and I was going to have to deal with, but I didn't know how I was going to do it. And they were talking about agoraphobia on the radio. It's the way God works. It's amazing. And I thought, the panic started in my head like, what if there is a doctor? What if there's somebody that can help me? Then that means I would have to get dressed and walk out the door and get in the car. Anyway, to make a long story short, we got on the phone, and I got this wonderful, wonderful man called Dr. Ronald Doctor. Yeah, it's funny. But I remember him so well. I'll never forget him as long as I live. And I walked in that door, and I sat down, and I found someone who knew what this was about. And he unraveled such a mystery for me.
From my point of view, I have to get into how they live their lives, who they are, how they feel inside, and relate to them, and get close to them. I think just dealing with symptoms doesn't address the person. It's like
Doctor never really, he didn't prescribe drugs, so it was not a matter of medications. My therapy was about awareness and education. And it lessened for me those horrible panic attacks. I mean, you have to understand how taxing it is physically to have these. You're just absolutely mentally and physically gone, exhausted.
People feel very alone with this problem, and they feel, and it destroys their self-esteem because they can't do what they'd like to be able to do and function the way they want to function. So to have somebody understand it and give them some hope is really, really important.
There have been some recent tests that I have had to, well, they've been huge gifts, to be honest. I mean, just this last year has been a real test for me, and that was when I did the movie LA Confidential. And so much focus and attention and spotlight was put on that film, and then on me. All this time being an actress or anything, anytime they stuck a microphone in my face like this, words just left me. Words would strangle me. I won the Oscar, and I am so still, I don't even know how to talk about that. It's amazing. The words, there are no words. Just the thought. I mean, prior to all this happening, if ever a thought was even, when I was taking a shower, that I might, for some reason, win and have to go on the stage and say anything, I'd just break out in a sweat.
221.
Dan Cox from Variety.
4 years ago, you were struggling.
You come up against that fear and say, okay, I'm scared, but I'm going to do it afraid. And that's where I've come to in my life. I'm scared, but I'm going to do it afraid. And you know what? It's helped me. People have seen me shaking on a stage, in an interview. They've seen me. And I was always so terrified that they would see me. Alec has seen a great change in me since we were first together. I think he was baffled by it. I think he wasn't sure it really existed. I think it was very hard for him to understand my being, well, stricken at times. Because he says, look at you. What? You've been an actress? What? I mean, you've been in, you do this, you do that, you've flown all over the world, you've done this, you've been in front of the camera and everything. So it's very difficult for spouses or for family members to understand and to have patience with this, and really gentle patience with this. I didn't find many people in my life to have patience with this at all.
This is not a trivial condition. People are suffering a great deal from this. It's a very distressing condition. It's a very common one that was far more common than people had ever expected. At the same time, however, it's also one of the most treatable psychological or psychiatric disorders today. Most of the psychological treatments, the cognitive behavioral treatments, are finding at the end of 12 to 16 weeks of this sort of treatment, sometimes shorter, that 80 to 90% of the people will often experience cessation of the panic attacks, reductions in their fear of panic, reductions in their anxiety sensitivity, reductions in their avoidance. Similar types of findings have also been accomplished in pharmacologic trials, where certain medications were able to suppress the panic attacks at roughly equivalent rates. So this is clearly one of the success stories, and people who are suffering from panic disorder have all the reason to hope that they can get this thing under control.
I'm not naked any longer. I'm not standing as a frail kid standing there alone. You know, I've been heavily clothed, and I've had so much help and so much guidance. I challenge myself with this beyond, because you know, when I take my last breath, it's not going to be because I am having a panic attack. That's for damn sure. You know, there's a story that a lady handed me, and I don't have the paper with me. I should have brought it with me, but it's about someone asking someone giving someone an assignment to go to war with fear or go to battle with fear. And they go, you know, fear, I want to ask you, what can I do to conquer you? What do I do? And fear took a deep breath and said, well, my two strengths are, I get in your face and I speak very loudly. She says, well, how do I conquer you? And fear says, the only way you can conquer me is don't do what I say. And that made so much sense to me. So every time I go out and I take a deep breath and there's any anxiety in me, I say, okay, fear, I hear in my head what you're telling me to do, and I'm not going to do it. That's it.